Is big tech trying to control what Americans think about Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Kamala Harris, and Tim Walz? Here to discuss is Blaze News editor-in-chief Matthew Peterson and Dr. Robert Epstein, who is with the American Institute for Behavioral Research and Technology Researchers. So, Dr. Epstein, you found what biased search results can sway voters anywhere from 20 to 80%, you said. So how are search engines manipulating these search results?
Well, first of all, we know, Jill, that they are. So I want to make that very clear. So if your viewers go to America's, with an S, americasdigitalshield.com, you'll actually see the data streaming in 24 hours a day. This is a real-time dashboard. And you'll see the content that big tech companies are sending to a representative sample, politically balanced sample of more than 16,000 registered voters in all 50 states. And what the system is showing us is the first, by the way, first monitoring system in the world that shows what big tech is doing. And what this shows is that they're sending very strongly politically biased content to people in 49 out of 50 states. And the only red state that they have is Arkansas, which is not one of the swing states. So right now they are sending highly biased content sufficient to shift in this election between 6.4 million and 25.5 million votes, and that's just in the presidential election. So that's what's happening right this minute. We're seeing it in real time. It's outrageous. They have truly undermined the free and fair election.
So let me bring up something that I've been in this argument before with people that I've heard many times, and I'm sure you have heard even more times when this debate comes up. And that is good. You know, smart people will say something like, well, look, it's just true that there's more content, right, created, news created. It tends left. The media tends to be left. And so, of course, these things are biased just because that's what most of the articles that are being published. I'm curious how you address that sort of argument.
Sure. Well, that's exactly what Google would like us to believe. That's what they say. It's absolutely, completely false. How do we know that? Well, first of all, if we go individual by individual, let's say Harris, we see very strongly liberally biased content being sent to anyone looking up any information about Harris. But if you look at people that they don't like, for example, Elizabeth Warren, who is as Democrat as you can be, they're sending extreme right-wing content to people who look up individual information about Elizabeth Warren. They want her out of office. They don't like her, even though she's a liberal, because she has gone on record calling for the breakup of Google. So believe me, they're not sending what's out there. They're sending whatever they want to send to manipulate people's thinking and their votes.
Well, maybe now's a good time to go through and just explain what the search engine manipulation effect is for the audience.
It turns out that most of the searches we do on Google or other search engines are for simple facts. So what is the capital of Idaho? In fact, I don't even know, but I could go to google.com and find out. The point is, 86% of the time, we're looking for simple facts, and the simple answer turns up at the top. The correct answer turns up at the top. So we're like rats in a Skinner box. We are learning over and over and over again that what's at the top is best, what's at the top is truest. The problem is when we type something in on a topic where we're trying to make up our minds, Google knows this. They know that we believe whatever they put at the top. So all they have to do, and this is what SEAM is, all they have to do to shift the thinking of undecided voters is put at the top of search rankings content that favors their candidate, so that when someone clicks at the top, it takes them to a web page that makes Google's candidate look really good. And we know from more than 12 years of controlled experiments published in peer-reviewed journals, we know that when Google does this, it easily shifts between 20 and 80% of undecided voters. after just one search. If they do it over and over again to undecided voters, the numbers go up higher and higher. And that is what they're doing. That's what we're preserving. We're preserving that evidence for the courts and for the Federal Election Commission. That's what they're doing right now with voters around the country. And there's something else that they're doing right now. They are sending on their homepage, they're sending more go vote reminders to Democrats than to Republicans. This is called the targeted messaging effect, TME, something we've also studied. And Google is doing it right now, and we're capturing the evidence.
So I'm curious, outside of what I hope all this evidence is used for, which is to bring them into account and hold them accountable for what they've been doing now for so long with the force of law. I'm all about that. But beyond that, just in terms of how this should work for human beings, right? I mean, having looked at this for years, what are your thoughts about how this should work? Like, what would the solution be ideally when it comes to search online?
Well, first of all, search online should be fair, but there's a problem there. If we had a kind of an equal time rule for search, it wouldn't work very well, because we want search to put things into order and put the best at the top. So an equal time rule just really wouldn't work. So what is the solution? The solution, which I published in Bloomberg Business Week, by the way, the day before I testified before Congress the first time, what will definitely work is for our leaders to make Google's index, make their data public. If they make their data public, then other people, other companies, high school students could build search engines on top of their excellent data. And now we would have competition in search. We'd have thousands of search engines all vying for our attention and all focusing on niche audiences. It would be exactly like the news arena, the arena that you're part of, where there are thousands of sources all vying for our attention. In this case, Google would lose its worldwide monopoly on search. Search would be competitive. Search would be innovative again. And we wouldn't have to worry about this giant monopoly controlling our thoughts and opinions and votes worldwide. That is the solution, is to make their index, which is the database they use to generate search results, make that index public. There's a lot of precedent for that in law. We did something like that to AT&T a long time ago. There's a lot of precedent for it, even in Google's own business practices, where now and then they give other companies access to their data. So that is the solution. I've discussed it with Senator Ted Cruz and others. There's strong interest in it here, even stronger interest in doing that in Europe.
All right, Dr. Epstein, with the last question, with the time that we have, is what do people need to know? What have you uncovered then that they absolutely need to know before the election?
Well, they need to know that this election is not fair. It is not fair. I'm not a Trump person, and I'm not even a conservative, but I can tell you right now that Google alone can shift so many votes that they will determine who actually wins the election this year, and people won't even know what hit them. Fortunately, this time we will, for the first time ever, have a massive amount of data to prove for the courts and for the Federal Election Commission to prove what Google has done, which is to undermine our democracy.